Am I the asshole for no allowing my neighbors to make a copy of my apartment key? So I recently just moved into my new apartment complex less than 60 days ago. There are only 4 units in my complex, 2 downstairs and 2 upstairs. I reside downstairs in the second apartment. Everyone here has lived here for at least 5 years whilst the oldest resident has resided here for 8. Everyone knows everyone and has been good friends with each other for as long as each one has been a resident. Everyone in my building has children besides me, majority are single mothers, I am the only man. Apparently there is an unspoken agreement I at first had any knowledge of between the rest of the tenants that the hallway door is to never be locked. No one ever locks the hallway door. That is until I arrived. From my knowledge no one in the building has a hallway key, just the keys to their apartments. The cost to replace a key is $70 for each, quoted from my landlord. I just finished up my place and have officially moved in for about 3 weeks now. Each time I leave and come back from my complex I always lock the hallway door. It's always been a hit to lock all doors behind me. My neighbor that works night shifts has arrived home for the past couple of weeks to a locked hallway door, which is a surprise given that the door hasn't been locked for years. Apparently everyone lost their key their first year or so living in the complex. I will hear continuously knocking and banging until someone comes to open the door. The first few nights I was awakened and got up to unlock the door. After the first week I've since stopped and my neighbor will be up to unlock it to let our neighbor in. If my neighbor isn't home or doesn't wake up to come to the door, she will knock and bang on every window and yell until someone comes open the door. Yesterday my neighbor asked I could please leave the door unlocked given it has always been that way and would like me to continue doing so. I expressed that while we live in a dangerous neighborhood, rated one of the top 5 most dangerous in our city, is feel more safe knowing strangers can't enter the building. Whilst she understood my concerns, she assured me no one ever comes here but residents and invited visitors and my safety is not to worry. I had to beg to differ. She then asks would I mind lending her my hall key so she can make a copy and let other make their own copy from hers. I politely declined because I wasn't comfortable with that. She offered to pay me to make a copy myself, in which I also declined. For the past week my neighbors has barely spoken to me. We usually tell each other good morning and chat a little or just a hi and bye even, but not even that nowadays. My neighbor, whom volunteers at the food bank in our community, would come back with goodies and share with everyone in the complex. She has since knocked on my door to deliver me a box as she usually would every Wednesday. I don't care for the food, but for the change in this routine leads me to believe I may have upset the rest of the tenants and I honestly don't want any bad blood. WTF? You are the asshole. Yeah, you caused bad blood. You declined every solution proposed. Just get the key copied and have them pay you. It costs a few dollars and the goodwill will mean you don't have beef with your neighbors. Or just be an asshole but don't whine about it and wonder what went wrong. Info. Why won't you take them up on their offer to pay you to make a copy of the key? You are the asshole. I honestly don't want any bad blood. Really? That's hard to believe. You declined every solution including her paying you for a copy of the key. She in turn will make copies for everyone, thus the door you want locked can be. Info. Your neighbors, at least one who has brought you food from the food bank, have obviously just lost their hall keys. They are willing to keep the hall locked if they can get new hall keys. It will cost them more to get the same key you have from the landlord versus making a copy of your key. They are all willing to pay for their own copies. They just want to save money by getting a copy by copying yours than the landlord's. Why don't you want to help your neighbors save a couple bucks on the key when it will ultimately lead to getting what you want, the hall door always locked and no one banging to get in? 'Cause I don't see a good reason not to, and that would make you are the asshole unless there is something else to this I failed to understand. Not the asshole. The YTAS blow my mind. Why is it your job to copy the keys and give them to people? They lost their own keys, so they should have to spend the $70 to get a new one from the landlord. Is there no personal accountability? This isn't on you. They need to be more careful and not lose important keys. They're putting lots of people at risk by leaving the door unlocked. I truly don't understand how you being responsible makes you an awe. Copying the keys without discussing it with the landlord and going under his nose just to save people a couple bucks? That could land you in major trouble with said landlord. Am I the asshole for firing my brother-in-law? I, M39, have been married to my wife, F36, let's call her Pam, for 15 years. We have a 14-year-old son, and Pam has a younger brother, 28, let's call him Dwight. Dwight, his pregnant wife Angela, 24, have been facing financial difficulties. Around 6 months ago, Dwight reached out to me for help finding a new job. He said he quit the previous job I found for him, claiming an abusive work environment, and said he needed a new job urgently since his wife was about to give birth. I own an auto repair shop among other businesses, so I offered him a job at the shop, because I believed Dwight was interested in cars. Pam supported this idea, hoping it would provide him with a stable job. However, over the subsequent months, it became evident that Dwight wasn't committed to the job. Instead of helping and learning, he spent his time watching anime on his phone. He frequently arrived late, left without notice, and was generally unproductive. The cars we repair are usually expensive cars. So, some of our customers appreciate it when we pick up and deliver their cars. In an effort to give him responsibilities, I assigned Dwight to manage customer car deliveries, which happened just a few times per week, a task he continued to perform poorly. The tipping point occurred when I gave Dwight a customer's car to deliver, but he called and said his wife Angela needed to go to the hospital. It wasn't anything serious, but he couldn't deliver the car. I said I could handle it myself, but he said he could do it first thing in the morning. The next morning at 4 a.m., my phone rang. It was Dwight. He said he crashed the car he was supposed to deliver. In short, he decided to drive the car to his hometown to see his boys, got drunk, and crashed 150 kilometers away from home on his way back. Miraculously, he wasn't seriously injured. But he trashed the car, so I had to replace it. He damaged a lot of roadside barriers as well. The whole thing cost me about $70,000. The next day I fired Dwight, despite my mother-in-law's attempts to intervene. I felt Dwight was a risk to my businesses and couldn't be tolerated. I also own nightclubs, hotels, etc. All businesses that people leave their cars. People know me here, they talk. This decision caused a rift in the family, with my wife's parents and other relatives siding with Dwight, and pressuring me to reconsider. As a result of her family's influence, a week after the incident Pam changed her stance and started to want me to hire Dwight again. This was an unexpected shift, as she fully supported my decision at first. I also engaged in a heated confrontation with my in-laws, but I stood my ground and refused to apologize for my decision. I now find myself isolated from my family, my in-laws, my wife, and my son, who all believe I was harsh and unreasonable towards Dwight. I don't think I was, so I can't bring myself to apologize. Am I the asshole here, Reddit? I don't think I am, so I need other perspectives. Not the asshole. I would tell them you would be happy to hire him after he or they pay the $70,000 damages. Then every time they say you should hire him, just answer that they should pay the damages. Get a lawyer and start looking into a divorce. Any family this stupid is too toxic for you. In TA, if Dwight had financial problems, he should actually work hard and be responsible. You gave him a job and he caused troubles for you in the end. I wouldn't trust Dwight after what he did. And this isn't speculation, but I feel Dwight is the reason they have financial problems in the first place. Not the asshole, he was a risk to your business. Employees are supposed to bring value to your business while getting paid for the value they bring. He got paid for not really doing anything, didn't bring value to your business, and ended up costing you a lot of money while risking taking your business down with his incompetence. Ask your wife and son if his incompetence to them is worth more than the roof over your head and the food on your table. Not the asshole. A reputation lost is nearly impossible to get back. You can't risk your family's financial future for a person who is damaging to your businesses. As for those saying you should re-employ Dwight, they know no one else will employ him as he's less than useless. Am I the asshole for ignoring my pregnant niece? I'm sorry if this gets confusing, there's a lot of backstory. All fake names. TW. Traumatic pregnancy, miscarriage, traumatic birth, near-infant death, sick children. My husband, 45M, and I, F36, have 2 children. Alex, 12M, and Harry, 5M. When I was younger, I had a lot of intestinal issues and ended up having major surgery. Less than 6 months later, I found out that I was pregnant. I was told that it was fine. It was not fine. From around week 20 I was in serious pain as the fresh scar tissue was stretched. The birth was rough and premature and I ended up having contractions and was 4 centimeters open for 72 hours. In spite of this, my husband and I really wanted another kid, and 5 years later we conceived. We found out 2 days before leaving on a trip to see my husband's parents who live abroad. We figured it would be fine. It was not fine. I had a miscarriage 2 weeks into the visit. My mill was supposed to take care of Alex so my husband could stay with me at the hospital and translate for me. She went shopping instead, so my husband had to stay with Alex, leaving me alone and not knowing what was going on because I don't speak the language. It was awful. Fast forward another couple of years and I got pregnant again. The birth was also traumatic as I passed out halfway. 4 weeks later, I found Harry in his crib, blue in the face and unresponsive. He wasn't breathing and I started CPR. I managed to revive our son myself and we went to the hospital to get him checked out afterwards. He recovered entirely and is generally a healthy, if a bit wild boy. All this has left me with PTSD. I can't handle babies. If I get close to an infant, I get the phantom feeling of a limp dead baby in my arms. I get flashbacks and nausea and panic attacks. The same for visibly pregnant women. Now, my niece, Andrea, 19F, is pregnant and she's going through a rough patch, but I can't be around her without getting the aforementioned symptoms, so for the time being, I've withdrawn from family get-togethers. If my niece is going to be there, I just don't go. My husband is taking the boys so they don't miss out, but I just can't. My mum, however, is annoyed by this. She thinks it's selfish of me not to help, which I feel like I have. We've donated everything we had from when Harry was a baby, including his pram, baby monitors, etc., all expensive items we could have sold for good money instead. I just can't be there in person. She thinks it's ridiculous that I feel this way because Harry didn't die. And in some ways I can't help but feel that she might be right because Harry is here and I'm so grateful that he is. I also really want to be there for my niece, but I just feel so awful whenever I try. My mum thinks I need to try harder and has been trying to force it by not telling me that my niece will be visiting when we go there. I've looked into getting therapy, but the only person in my country who specializes in this has a 2-year waiting list. But am I the asshole for ignoring my niece? You need therapy, not Reddit. Not the asshole. The comments about therapy are useless. Even if you were in therapy, that wouldn't mean you would be able to be around your niece or any newborn. It is not some sort of magic. You did help, you did donate expensive stuff, you could have sell everything and maybe you would have the money for therapy. Plus nobody should be forced to help someone or to be around someone. Your mother can help harder. Info. Are your niece's parents not around to support her? I'm confused as to why there is so much pressure on you to be involved. Not the asshole, but your mom sure is. She doesn't get to decide when you heal from or process your trauma. Can you ring her regularly? If it's just a visual trigger. Am I the asshole for telling my friend as was too damn bad she was uncomfortable? I work as a kind of personal assistant, art handler and organizer to an individual with an extensive collection. It's an interesting job and I get a lot of opportunities for new experiences and invitations to events. My boss and I do not have the same tastes in art. He's an older, very traditional guy and that reflects in the events I get invited to, the people that I'm interacting with at these events. We have a world-famous opera in our city and I was gifted 2 tickets to the opera last weekend, with an invitation to attend a pre-show cocktail party in a private area. This was not a work event for me but still a networking opportunity and a gift from my boss's personal friend. My fiancé was visiting family so I invited my friend Sarah to join me. She arrived at my house Saturday afternoon to get ready with me. She had brought a dress to wear that I didn't think she should. It was very pretty but more like a club dress than an event dress, bright pink and very short. And our opera is known for a no dress code, just be fabulous approach, so it was fine for the venue itself, but I knew the pre-party was going to be an older, more traditional opera dress crowd. I wore a deep green floor-length dress, for reference. I offered her the option of choosing something out of my closet and told her that I thought she might be uncomfortable at the party because of the type of group they were, but she wanted to wear that dress so I didn't push it. At the party, most of the attendees didn't seem interested in engaging with her, and while outwardly polite, it did feel like they were equally uncomfortable with her presence as she was being there. She stayed next to me the whole time, which was fine, but she was sullen and kept grabbing my arm to whisper in my ear that we should leave. After the 3rd time Sarah pulled me out of a conversation and told me she wanted us to leave the party. I got irritated and told her it was too damn bad that she was uncomfortable. I warned her. There's 2 bars out in the public area. She could go hang out there and I'd join her in an hour for the show, but I couldn't leave yet without looking bad. I might not have been working, but I accepted the invitation and now my behavior here reflects on my boss and that ultimately affects my job regardless of it not being officially work." Sarah stayed at the party instead and eventually it was over and we attended the show. She didn't speak to me at all on the drive home and texted me after I dropped her off that she was upset by the way I had treated her and that I should have left when she wanted. I think that's unfair. I talk about my job all the time and she knows very well what expectations are placed on me at these events and how I am expected to act. I tried to tell her but obviously I wasn't going to force her to change. But she's still mad and a mutual friend is guilting me for not caring about Sarah's comfort and I am starting to feel a little bad and IDK. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Fair warning was given prior to the event as well as an opportunity to change attire. That being, I don't know the extent of the warning given. Perhaps a bit more detailed explanation should be given next time to ensure the individual in question knows exactly what might occur. Sometimes communicating a warning doesn't match the level of internal concern due to not wanting to insult the person, resulting in them not thinking too much about it, and it may be possible that was the case. Her feelings are somewhat justified as it sucks being judged like that. But as mentioned, you're not the asshole here. Not the asshole. If someone warns you you're dressed inappropriately for the venue, you change. I wouldn't wear heels to a hike. Not the asshole. If Sarah was so uncomfortable due to her own fault, she could have called an Uber to take her home. Info. Did you actually tell her beforehand specifically what kind of event this was going to be, or did you just imply that her dress might not fit in? Not the asshole. It's the opera and a work event. She should have dressed appropriately and known that you had professional mingling to do.